At this point, it's what we're talking about here is kind of my word against yours, but I would invite the public to refer to the minutes of the meeting that was held at the Sheriff's Department, unfortunately without cameras and very few people there, and it's subject to the minutes that were taken and how accurate they might have been done at that time. But it was very clear in that meeting that the open use zoning was not an option, and that the public community meeting should be canceled, and that you had put people on the planning board that you thought had a better idea and you'd like to hear from them. And if you remember, my comments were that we have a professional staff that we pay to bring us alternatives. They brought us 5 options. We chose an option, and I questioned you directly if you were trying to change the direction, and you responded. You hesitated to start with, and finally you said, yes, I think there's a better way. We want to zone the county.
No,
Now,
we were there. I don't know how many other people were there, but we were there. And I recall the conversation very clearly because I did chastise your characterization of what Diana said.
Okay.
And she did say that she had changed her mind and was no longer convinced that it was the best way forward. And I'm sorry, but to me, that is being a big boy and saying, we don't know that we have all of the information. We don't know that we had the best information.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you asking us to say, without finding out the rest, without hearing what's coming, let's say that we already had the best information? That would sound more rushed.
I'm saying that if you move forward with the planning board checking alternatives and making decisions to present to the Board of Commissioners for us to consider and then have public hearing or public input, is doing it backwards. Unless you have intentions of going against the public, regardless of what they say, then why don't you have the public input and the community meetings up front? Because that way you get an opportunity to find out what they feel is right for their community, what they feel is right for their area, and you can structure things around that. Otherwise, you're doing it backwards. You're deciding for them, then you're going to have input, you're going to hear from the public, the train's going to be left the station. It's going to be too far down the
The majority
road.
of this board disagreed with you.
I disagree because
The
for one
majority
thing,
of this board disagreed with you.
Well, that's obvious. But
But we're
the majority of the
revisiting it.
board is represented by the public, and the public's not being heard.
No, the majority of the board was elected by the public. And
That's
now we're
right.
sitting here, we're tasked to do something.
That's right. They were
And we
elected by the people,
disagreed
but
with
now you
you.
won't listen to the people.
Colleagues were speaking over one another.
I think you're trying to rehash the argument.
I think I'm trying to get you to understand that you're making the decisions before you get public input. You heard every one of them out there tonight.
exactly, but it's the cart before the horse kind of thing. Your horse is the list of no-goes, the list of uses. That's what you'd be taking to the public meetings.
No, ma'am.
Yes, because otherwise that's what you were going to do at your public meetings, was get the public input on what would be on that list, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. I misunderstood the way you stated that.
I'm sorry. So what makes sense to me is to have something in hand, in mind, that you solicit public input on. This is what we're thinking, what do you think? Rather than just give us a list of stuff you don't want to see. So I think whenever you have a public meeting where you're soliciting citizen input, you're usually soliciting citizen input on something, some alternatives, a topic, rather than an open meeting where you just, rather than just an open meeting where you say, well, what don't you want? So I'm just convinced that you need to have a little more structure for whatever. We don't know what we're going to present at this point. I don't know.
And I think what we've asked is that we suspend judgment and make our determination when we have all of the information before us. And what I'm hearing from more, not just you, but what I'm hearing a lot is a rush to judgment without knowing what's going to be on the table? You know, what
Well-
are you saying no to
I still say
before
that,
you know what the meal is, what's the menu?
how do you decide to do interim zoning when you have no, by summertime, if you have no public input, no community meetings? How do you decide to do interim zoning? And it was stated very clearly at one of the meetings that we must have it by, I don't know, June 1st or whatever.